Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Brad. It's Sunday night. It's 8 o'clock, and that means it's time for another episode of Cariboo Hart TV. So, before we do go anywhere, we're gonna start things off with we're switching up the format for the show a bit. You watched last week's episode. You might have noticed that it was released at 8 p.m. Pacific on last Sunday, and we're gonna try and stick to that. I've been thinking about it, and I don't have a big viewer base at the moment. We're building up to that, and we will get there, I promise. But as near as I can tell, I've only got about 6 or 8 people that actually watch the show weekly or with any real regularity. From going on my YouTube channel and checking out the views, it seems like you get those first 6 to 8 people that watch it like within the first couple days, and then after that, it's you seem to get 2 or 3 views, sometimes one or none. But you just kind of get that steady trickle of views that seems to be typical for the rest of my videos. And one of the things I've been yakking on in most of my episodes of the show is I would like to get some viewer participation in everything from send pictures of your buds in, uh, send pictures of your dabs in, like whatever you've got growing in your grow tent, in your grow room, whatever you got. If you're proud of it, send it up and we'll get it up on the show. But also, I'd like to get some participation in the comment section, right, during chat or whatever. So I thought, well, if you're just kind of filming all your videos, whether it be your short videos or your podcasts, and releasing them as soon as you're done editing it, you're not gonna get as many people. You're never gonna get people in the chat during the premiere for sure. I decided to make it easier, never so that way if people just kind of know that okay, it's Sunday, it's getting to be close to be 8 p.m. Let's go hang out on YouTube with Brad, and we'll have a good bullshit session with him on the chat. And we're trying to go in that kind of direction. So if you are watching this video during the premiere, you, I'm looking at you. Jump into the comment section. I'm here during every premiere watching along. And once we get the viewership up and the fan participation and the viewer participation going on a bit, maybe we'll start doing some live streaming and stuff like that, where we'll do question and answers and all that kind of stuff. But also just keep the bullshit and the good time going. Now, before we get too into this, I should probably talk about what exactly it is I'm smoking here. I usually like to start my mornings off with a nice joint to go with my morning coffee, which I drink out of my Lucky Aerosmith. And this morning's joint is some of that aquaponic growing Gorilla Skittles that we did not too long ago. And just yesterday, we pressed a whole bunch of rosin. We did 2 different blends of rosin, but we also pressed about an ounce of the Gorilla Skittles done in the aquaponics there. And the rosin that came out of that is just fucking loud as hell. Now, Gorilla Skittles has been one of my favorite strains for about a year and a half now. I've got an amazing friend named Murray. Shout out to Murray. He's been hooking me up with seeds. He's like the seed guru of the Cariboo region, I guess you could say. And he goes seed shopping quite frequently. And and oftentimes when he does that, he'll throw a seed or two my way and just be like, hey man, try this out. And I'm usually more than happy to try it out. And Gorilla Skittles is one of the strains that we got off him. And honestly, I just wasn't really expecting to fall in love with it by any means. It's just something new for the garden, or so you thought. And then, as if any intelligent grower, if you've got the space to do it, you should be cutting clones off of every phenotype that you grow, especially if you're a closet grower like we were at the time where you're only doing, say, half a dozen plants. Cut some clones because you never know what you're going to come off with, right? Like, this was an unexpected, just like, holy shit. And it's funny because when we cut it down, there's not much for bag appeal. It doesn't look very good, but the smell and the taste is there. And anyways, the rosin is just loud as fuck, man. Like, And we're going to show you some of that in a bit. We'll talk more about rosin a little bit later on in the show, because we got another segment on that here in a little bit. I just kind of going off on a tangent there that we pressed up some fresh rosin yesterday. So Gorilla Skittles, aquaponically grown Gorilla Skittles weed with aquaponically grown Gorilla Skittles rosin. Big, huge, fat fucking grease stain on the paper. Whoo wee! Yeah, boy. So that's how I start my mornings off just right. Like a kick in the frickin' head. I like it. I like it a lot. Now, usually when we press rosin, I try to press it in the bigger bags just because it's a lot less time consuming. We don't have one of those fancy pneumatic presses or electric presses. It's a Nug Smasher OG, and it's hand pump, right? So it's you crank it every little bit of it, which is fine. It does the trick, but when you start getting into like these little 3.5 gram baggies that come with the Nug Smasher, that gets to be very time consuming if say you want to press 3 ounces of weed through it. All of a sudden that's 3.5 gram baggies. Even if you up it to like 4 grams in there, like man, that's like 7 squishes per ounce, right? So we generally don't use a lot of the smaller baggies. I had not much better to do yesterday, so we pressed a bunch, and see if you can get that. So this is some Gorilla Skittles rosin that we pressed. I pressed 3 different runs. Now I already cleaned up the other two things. Now the first 2 runs that we did were actually kind of a blend. You see the little speck on there. We blew the rosin bag out on that one. Not the end of the world, we just clean around it. The first run we did was a blend of what you could call, I guess, the B-list buds just from the aquaponic run. When I was taking everything out of the scrog, I forgot to label some of the plants, so we didn't know what the fuck they were even. I'd actually, my best guess on a lot of it would probably be some of those ChemDog Afghani F2s that we'd cloned off and threw, and just we had extra clones to throw in there. And as you heard me say before, there's really nothing epic in that lineup that I wanted to keep, so probably a lot of that kind of stuff. But anyways, a lot of stuff we couldn't identify, but it was just not as good as the really good stuff we couldn't identify. We just throw it in a bag, we press that up, and it made for some pretty good fucking rosin, I would say. So I pressed a couple ounces of that yesterday and got a decent return out of that using bigger rosin bags, as we prefer to do. And then we decided to try out some of these little 7 gram bags that we got with the Nug Smasher when we got it, with better stuff, with the better buds that we got. Same situation, same situation really. We couldn't identify the strains because some dumbass didn't label the plants when they were cutting them out of the pots and hanging in the scrog, and just a lot going on. But whatever, it's not the end of the world. Boy, we basically had 2 bags of blended buds, an A mix and a B mix really. And so we pressed those up and got some good returns off of that. And then I was thought, oh, you know what? I'll just run. I think it was actually only a quarter through. Yeah, I think it was a quarter of that Gorilla Skittles through, just because I love that Gorilla Skittles so much, and decided to run that through. Got a nice little return off it, but then by about dinner time last night, I'd fucking smoked most of it. I'm like, God damn, I'm gonna have to press some more. And I was like, well, I don't want to use up all my bigger baggies when I'm just kind of screwing around. So we decided to press up a whole bunch of these freaking little tiny 3.5 gram baggies worth. And you've seen the results, and they're not bad there. And so this is all Gorilla Skittles in now. We'll take some better pictures out with maybe a better camera, see if we can get you better views. How's that look? And like a lot of this stuff was going sugary straight off the press. Like it was like, yeah, this is some hot shit in my opinion. I love that. To me, that's when you get the rosin, it comes off the press. Oftentimes, it's in like a honeyish brownish kind of color, and you pull it off, clean it off the paper, and you stick it into whatever container you're gonna use. And then I find over the course of the next day or so, it turns and gets that sugary kind of granular consistency to it. But this stuff, it started doing that right off the bat yesterday. It just gets me all excited. I love that consistency. The terps on it are just fucking insane. I love it. But now that I'm talking about all these wonderful dabs that we got and stuff, I got to put the call out there to Rick, the old guy. Me and you got to get together for some joints and some dabs here, bud. You live a long way out of town, unfortunately. Like we live, for anybody that knows, Rick and I, we live fairly close together, but it is far enough out of the way that it's hard for us to be able to meet up at times. And he reached out to me a few weeks ago. He's actually our first fan mail letter, I guess you could say. It was an email from him, just giving me a shout out saying hi. And we've kind of emailed a couple times back and forth since then. I promised him a rosin sample when we were having a bullshit down at Cariboo Garden Supply, and we just haven't been able to meet up, which is kind of funny because Rick, I'm actually kind of working out in roughly your neck of the woods. If you end up seeing our truck and chipper out there, buddy, pull over and say hello. But anyways, as I ramble on and completely lose the point of what I was getting at, me and Rick, we got to get together. We got to have a good bullshit session, and we got to smoke some dabs and some joints together. So another big deal around the Cariboo Hart household the other day, we did another big harvest, or like our first actual big harvest, I think, since, well, big for us, since we've made the switch to organics in January, February, whenever it was. We've been doing a bit of underachieving, I guess you could say, just trying to get exactly the system dialed in, what's best for us. And then months ago, we decided to throw a bunch of big plants into 20-gallon pots and grow some others. And you've all seen pictures of those if you follow us on Instagram. We've been posting pictures of those all over the place. And we've even got some videos of those up on YouTube. So I encourage you to go back and check out some of our other YouTube videos. In these 20-gallon pots, we had two wedding cakes, 3 super silver hazes, and 3 slurricanes. These 8 plants were all up over just over 5 feet tall. So we got a nice little harvest out of that. The IT department spent all day yesterday trimming. She had a friend over and they were trimming up buds, and between the two of them, they didn't even get halfway done everything that needed to be trimmed up. So that's kind of encouraging, and also indicates that I'm probably actually gonna have to, once I get done dealing with my end of the gardening, I'm probably gonna have to glove up and do some trimming as well, which usually I avoid trimming like the plague. It's not my deal, and lucky enough that I'm being married to a woman who doesn't mind it. Um, for any of you that don't know, when you hear me make reference to the IT department, I'm actually talking about my wife. And it's not any kind of rude nickname at all. It's actually, I give that very affectionately to her. She does everything around here. I go to work and I swing a chainsaw around to make money to pay the bills. And that is really about it. She does everything else around here. I just, so it's just literally like my wife saves the day in so many aspects of our lives. Very thankful to her, and it's not derogatory. She knows it's affectionate, so I just want to make that clear. I don't want to make it sound like I'm bagging on my wife in any way, shape, or form. That woman is amazing, and she's done so much for positivity in my life. I just need to. Oh, well, I need other people to recognize that's where I'm coming from, where I'm going with this. But also, huge shout out to my wife. She's just such an amazing woman. What can I say? And while we're chatting her up, actually, the IT department, she's got her own handle on Cannabis now. So you've usually, when you see, well, all the videos you see on YouTube, that's me up here rambling on, as you can see. Hi, I'm Brad. This is me. Uh, my wife, she prefers generally to stay off camera. I'm sure the more that we get into doing this, I'm sure we'll see her on camera a little bit more often as she gets more comfortable. And if not, well, that's fine too. But anyways, most of the stuff you see either here or on Instagram, that's generally been me up to now. But when we do like the edibles or the chapstick that you saw us talk about on last week's episode, that's all her. All the muscle creams and salves and stuff like that for the sore muscles, joints, and whatnot, that's her doing that. So we just figure why not give her a platform where she can talk about all this stuff because she loves fucking around with all this too, right? This is like Cariboo Hart Organics. It's a family thing between with me and my wife. So why shouldn't she be involved in this the way I see it? So, anyways, we just thought it would be a fun thing to do to give her a nickname like that. And now we've got her up on Cannabis, so you can find her. That's the IT. That's the IT department at Boo 420 on Cannabis. Go and check her out on there, and you're gonna see her posting up a lot of really interesting stuff. So if you haven't seen last weekend's episode yet, here's that chapstick she made. See, just like that. Get rid of those chapped lips. For someone that works outdoors all winter in the dry weather, as I do myself, chapstick can come in handy and can really save the day. Now, I don't know her recipes or her processes. That is really her deal. But it's interesting as hell. And so, like I said, if you want to see what she's doing, you can see that on. She'll be posting up on Cannabis, and I suspect she'll also be posting some of her videos up here on the Cariboo Hart TV YouTube channel. As I've said, Cariboo Hart Organics, it's a us thing, my wife and I. I think she's finally starting to find her niche and feel comfortable, so I think you're gonna see her posting up. And I imagine she'll be posting stuff on Instagram, guys. So follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Cannabis. You know, we're up on Cannabis. Cariboo underscore Heart underscore Organics on Cannabis. You can find us there. And you can find, and as you've already just heard me mention, you can find the IT department on Cannabis. That's IT department at Boo 420. Getting back to the conversation at hand. And by back to the conversation at hand, what I really mean is I'm about to go off on another tangent, and you're all going to be sitting there looking at your computer or your phone going, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And so, the wedding cakes, the silver hazes, and the slurricanes, we should be getting a good massive harvest off that. And it's a good thing too, just pressed up the good portion of the majority of our remaining flour to be able to make all that rosin you heard me talking about earlier. But to be honest, for as much cannabis as I consume, and I love joints, I think joints are still my favorite. And we've got a bunch of fancy equipment around here. You know, I went out and bought one of those Airizer Q Extremes a while back. It's a conventional vaporizer for those that don't know. And that thing is awesome. The tastes and flavors that you get out of that and the kicks to the head. That's great. But for some reason, it's still not a joint. We've got bongs around here, but they're still not a joint. We've got dab rigs. I love doing dabs. You've seen me do dabs so many times, and they're fucking awesome. Like a kick in the head, and you get those terp flavors, but they're still not a joint. And I'm not saying they get you higher. A joint gets you higher than any of these other methods. Oftentimes, that's actually not the case. I'll end up smoking 2 or 3 of these in a row just to get what I can off of a couple dabs in a row. When you're smoking 2+ ounces a week, that is a lot of material that you're breathing into your lungs, and you can notice that. So we've started doing more and more dabs, and while I don't quite enjoy them as much as a joint, I just, you do dabs, and it's just like your lungs start spasming and feel like they're about to collapse, and it's just, they're fun, but it's uncomfortable, right? What you got going on in here, it's uncomfortable for a period of time. Whereas this, you sit here and you relax. And I've been sitting here talking At the point that you're seeing this, it's probably only 15-20 minutes into the video. But I've actually been smoking on this joint for probably close to half an hour, right? Just sitting here smoking it and relaxing. It'll go out for a minute or two as I'm talking, and then I'll come back and I'll relight it. It's just the joints are more relaxing method, I guess, is what you're saying. It seems like doing bong rips. They'll get you fucked up a lot faster than this will, but you're also coughing and you're oh my god, all that stuff, right? I just think it's just and yeah, while you're watching this, it's after 8 o'clock on Sunday evening, but at the time I'm looking on my computer right now and it's 4:51 a.m. So right, it's it's early. See now, how's that for going off on a tangent? Now, I told you guys that you'd give me that weird ass look. Like, what the fuck did he just say? Told you. Alright, everyone. I'm starting to feel like I need a dab here, so I'm just gonna take a quick pause here, real quick. So, while I grab this and do my dab, you grab your rig, you do your dab, and we'll meet in the middle when we're done, and we'll get back to the podcast. Alright, and in case anyone's wondering what I'm dabbing on here this time around, it's not the Gorilla Skittles. Earlier in the show, I was mentioning how we did or how we pressed a couple of different blends of rosin there, and one was better and one was not quite as good. This is definitely the better blend of those rosins. This stuff is deadly. Alright, that's better. Let's get back to it. Now, I want to talk a little bit about our White Widow Afghani F1 breeding project slash pheno hunt that we've been doing. We made a couple videos in this last week since last podcast. Uh, we've put a couple short ones up on Instagram, so you can check those out. We put another one up here on our YouTube channel. You can check out where basically I take you into the breeding room and show you what those 5 White Widow Afghani phenotypes that we picked out so far are looking like. And you can see that the orange hairs or that the white hairs are starting to turn orange, which means they've been pollinated. And if you take a little bit closer look, you could see that some of the calyxes are starting to swell up because they're starting to grow seeds in there. So this is getting to be exciting times. I was thinking about posting a video up about making another video about that and inserting it into the podcast here, but I started thinking if I do that, then there really isn't much point in me making the short videos to put out in between the podcasts. So if you want to see what's going on in the White Widow Afghani project, or as recently as 2 or 3 days ago, you can see the last video we put up there where we give the male plant a bit of a shake, and you can see some of the pollen come off, which will dust the females around it. And that's just one of the many short videos that we've got up and that we will be putting up as projects continue to go. We always seem to have a couple projects on the go at least. It makes for it makes my hobby more interesting, but I think it also makes it a lot more interesting for any viewers that might want to or that might want to tune in and watch along with what's going on. And another exciting thing about this White Widow Afghani project that we're doing is it's not just the breeding for the F2 generation that we're doing. We've got a bunch of these that are still sitting back in our normal bloom room too. So we're actually trying to pull off a bit of a harvest on this one. Or to be honest, we could definitely benefit from a little bit more systematic approach in how we go about doing our pheno hunting. I think we need to let our plants veg out a little bit longer. This run, we had to flip on the White Widow Afghanis a few weeks sooner than we originally wanted to, just so that we could fill that hole in our rotation that we're trying to do. We're trying to do in every 3 to 4 weeks have a light or a table that gets harvested, and the just the stuff, the silver haze and slurricanes that we wanted to flip they're taking too long to get there. So it's like, okay, I guess we're gonna have to throw the White Widow Afghani crosses in there because that's just the closest thing right now. So we're not gonna get the harvest that we would normally hope for out there, but we will get to see. As you'll see, it's just they're smaller plants. They're all, you know, about yay tall, and like that. Sunshine all around, branches aren't touching or anything like that, so nobody's getting crowded, which is a good thing. But the downside of that is you don't have a full canopy, so the harvest weight just will not be there, and that always sucks. So that's the downside to pheno hunting, or can be a downside to pheno hunting, I should say, is if you're someone that's always growing for production, you can lose a fair bit of harvest depending on how you go about your breeding programs. It's a learning curve for us, definitely, for sure. We've got these violator, or what would we pollinate that? Yeah, we got those that we pollinated that violator with the Chem Dog Afghani F2 pollen. We've got a bunch of those seeds that have germinated and sprouted, so we're gonna be working on those, and we're gonna try and give those a nice big veg so that they can grow up and get nice and tall. That way, when we do the pheno hunting, we can pull some for the breeding stock to throw in the breeding room, to away from our stuff that we want for our flower. But the stuff that we have for our flower, they'll at least be big enough and bushy enough that we're still going to get a good harvest out of that. I'll take a video maybe tonight after the lights go on of what we got going on in the White Widow room, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Like they're good looking plants, but they're just tall. And we could have just filled in a lot of that space a lot better. But that's just learning to get better with our stuff. As I've already said, one of the aspects we're trying to hit with this show is learn with us, not out here trying to pretend like I'm some master grower or anything like that. I've got a good base knowledge and I'm not bad at what I do, but always looking to get better. So why not film it while I'm doing it? Because there is people that are interested in this kind of stuff. You know who you are. I'm looking at you guys right now. And since we're all looking at each other going, I know who you are, do you know who I am? We should all hit pause and do a dab together. Alright, is everybody ready to do a dab together? It's time to get fucking hell-baked! Oh fuck yeah, the terps in that are just insane. That's more of that Gorilla Skittles rosin that I was talking about earlier, man. That stuff is just fucking nuts. Now, I'm going to be the first to tell you that I am not the world's most knowledgeable grower. And if that's what you're looking for, this isn't the best podcast for you. You'd be a lot better off going and checking out something like the Dude Grows Show, the Growing From Your Heart podcast with Ross to Jeff, or maybe Embracing Organics. All three of those are really good podcasts with a lot of knowledge that you can glean in on. The more of the element I'm trying to hit this in, is not so much original, but is that I'm kind of you're learning. We're learning together. I've already got a bit of knowledge and theory on a lot of this stuff, and now we're just trying a lot of that out. And then the other part of that is it's just me sitting here smoking dope in my garden and having a lot of fun doing it, and just figuring, well, might as well get the camera rolling while we're going. We're always going to try and keep a couple projects on the go to keep the viewers interested, but also for our interest as much as anything. And I want you to check out the other videos that I'm putting out. So go back and check out our other short videos that we've done about our breeding rooms, but also on the new aquaponics project that we did. We're going to talk more about aquaponics here in a minute. For now, we're just telling you about some of the videos that we put up there. And while you're in there on our channel checking out these videos, hit like and subscribe to them. Craft cannabis in the Cariboo. Spread the word. but more importantly, it's not just craft cannabis in the Cariboo, it's craft cannabis. And we're trying to spread the word of that. That's our main thing here. Just we love cannabis, and there's so many different aspects to it. It's not just a you smoke it and you get fucked up thing anymore. That's what it was for so long to so many people, and it still is. But as times progress, we're starting, and more research is done into it. We're starting to realize that it is so much more than just a plant. It has so many medicinal uses, so many recreational uses, and then just non-drug uses at all, right? Like we can use it for building supplies for Pete's sake. I think the last thing I actually wanted to make sure I touched on was the new aquaponics system. Now, this is another one that I was going to make another video and throw in the podcast here. Made a couple short videos about that already this week. I put a couple of them up on Instagram, so you can go check them out there. And then I've put up another one on that on our YouTube channel here, so you can go back and check that out. And to go into that one real quick, so just to recap, as you already know, uh, at about 6.5 weeks into bloom on our very first full table run of aquaponics, I walked into the garden and all our fish were dead. Still don't know exactly what happened. My best guess is water toxicity. I think we overwatered. Something leached into the water, wiped out my fish. Whatever, you move on. I had more fish in a different indoor pond because I had too many to fit in that pond. I would have been overstocked. So at least I had some fish to carry on with. So we scrubbed out the old reservoir that we were using for a pond, a 100-gallon black trough that you can get at feed stores for feeding your livestock. And we scrubbed it out, filled it up again, and then we've got a bunch of 55-gallon drums around here, so I cut the top off of one of them and I went to work on the plumbing. Now, I've never built a proper flood and drain system because either being unsure of I've always been either unsure of exactly how to do it. You could find you can find plans and people showing you how to build bell siphons and U siphons on YouTube. But for some reason, it's either I just didn't have the parts around at the time or didn't have the understanding from watching certain videos. And then, but so I guess more out of laziness than anything. When I did the original table there, I did it DWC, but uh, but it wasn't strictly out of laziness because I've seen a lot of videos where DWC or deep water culture it does work with aquaponics. So I just thought, well, I'll give it a try. And then you also have the backup, like if your pump does calf it or whatever and die on you, then you've at least got that backup of your water reservoir with your roots in there. So that's not like your plants are dying or anything on you right away. You've got some time to get a new pump installed and get water flowing. Once the fish died, though, we decided that no, we're not going to go that route. We're actually going to put the time in and do it properly. And about a month before, I just watched the virtual aquaponics conference put on by Potent Ponics on the Potent Ponics YouTube channel. I'd highly recommend to anybody that's interested in living soil, aquaponics, organic gardening, any of that stuff, go back and check it out. During the virtual aquaponic conference there that they were doing, a guy named Marty Waddell, he did his drop of his U siphon, and I kind of looked at that and said, oh yeah, that's easy enough. I don't know why that didn't really click with me before. So I was going to do that, but I didn't want to waste a full table again because that sucks when you have everything goes to shit and you still have a good couple weeks before it's supposed to come down. So we scaled it down. We're using the top of one of those 55-gallon drums that's been plumbed in, and I spent a lot of time over last weekend fucking around and trying to get that done. I finally got it figured out, and it's not really a U siphon anymore, but it is it pretty much is. Well, it's not shaped perfectly like a U is what I should be saying. And it's kind of funny because I thought I had it working, but it was draining pretty slow, and I was actually kind of surprised at how slow it was draining. And then it was when I bumped an arm when I was moving stuff around, and then all of a sudden it wasn't draining anymore again. I'm like, oh my god, I'm back to this problem again. This is like, and this is by now, this is hours, and I've spent quite a few film shots of it because I was gonna put together like a documentary film of me trying to build this frickin' U siphon. And it was like, okay, this is take 3,500,084 for Pete's sakes, right? It's just driving me nuts. But when I knocked it out of place, anyways, this one thing, and noticed it wasn't draining anymore at all. I was like, back to this, so let's try and fix it. And I moved the pipe a certain way, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this thing really is like, it's a siphon now. That water is draining fast. So a fuck up turned into be a really good thing for me there. And so we got that thing working like a top now. And so I was wanting to try. I was originally thinking about using 2 gallon pots and trying to stick 4 plants in there. And I thought, no, I'll try and stick 3 plants in 3 gallon pots. And I went to do that, and there wasn't quite enough room to do that. So we decided to just go with 2 plants in there. The 2 plants we decided were a super silver haze and a wedding cake. The super silver haze was a little bit bigger and pretty root bound in a 1 gallon pot. So we just put that down right on top of the hydrogen layer inside the pot, and then packed dirt in and around it. And whereas the wedding cake was a fair bit smaller, so we decided after the hydrogen layer inside the pot, just put some dirt on there just to give it a little bit more height, and then we dumped a bunch of Myco Jordan in there to inoculate it with some mycorrhizal fungi, and hopefully we can really get that root system to take off. So it should be interesting because we got one pretty well established plant, and then one that's just it's not a bad looking seedling, but it's not bad either. So we're gonna veg those out and just see what we end up with. I was really thinking about going the autoflower route in there, but I don't know autoflowers well enough yet. I'm really curious with them. I do believe they are the future of the outdoor growing, but for growing indoors and doing them on an experimental scale, I think it's just better to stick with the autoflowers, keep them in a pot and learn them that way, and then maybe I'll try and do some autoflowers in the aquaponics. But those are coming, I promise you. My end goal is to be able to switch all my systems over to aquaponics. It's going to take me time. Everything takes time, right? When you ain't rich. But to be honest, even if I was rich, why would I want to switch everything over at one time? That's where I get myself into the most trouble. Is like my whole growing career is I try one thing, but then instead of trying to duplicate it for the next run and see if you're actually getting better at it, I always want to switch it up and try a little of this or that and just do things a little bit differently. That way you don't, but so it keeps it really interesting for me because I'm always trying new shit, but it really makes it hard to collect data and see if your results are actually working because you cannot actually say if this is working better than this because you're not doing a side by side run on them. You're like, okay, we did this right here. Okay, but now I'm so excited to do this over here. So we got to do this right here. And it's just like You know, like you see a dog out in the yard where he's got like tennis balls all around him, and he's just like, okay, I got a ball, I got my ball, I got my ball, and then you pick up a ball, and then he drops the ball, and he's like, oh, I want your ball, I want your ball, and then you throw the ball, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna get the ball, and then you grab one of the balls that's on the ground, and you pick it up, and he's like, oh, okay, now I want that ball. That's like me with growing weed. It's ridiculous. I go into the grow store and it's like I want everything on the menu 3 times, please. And that's where the not being rich part gets to be a real pain in the ass, because if I was rich, then I could go into the grocery store and I really could try everything on the menu 3 times. Am I even making sense anymore? I don't even fucking know. But this is the kind of stuff that you can expect when I sit here in front of a camera and a microphone and just do dabs all day long. All right, everyone. I think that's been plenty long enough for tonight's show. I feel like we've covered a good spread of topics. Now, before we get going, I guess we'll just let you know one more time where you can find us. You can find us here on YouTube. Obviously, you're watching us here right now. You can find us at Cariboo Hart Organics on Instagram. And you can find us also at Cariboo underscore Hart underscore Organics on Cannabis. Now, what's Cannabis, are you asking? Well, if you like social media like Facebook or Instagram or any of that stuff and you like weed, well, then you're gonna fucking love Cannabis, because that's all it is. Think of kind of a cross between Facebook and Instagram where they kind of mesh together, do their thing, but it's all just strictly weed, nothing but cannabis. So you don't have those annoying people that are always crying about their relationship status or any of that. It's just strictly cannabis based. So it's really cool, and I encourage everybody to go over there. Once again, you can find us there at Cariboo underscore Hart underscore Organics. That's on the Cannabis app, and it's an app that you can get for your phone. Carry it right there, take it wherever you go, just like you do with Facebook, Instagram, or any of those other social media apps. As you've heard me say already earlier in the show, the IT department has her own account on Cannabis. That's IT department at Boo420 on Cannabis. You can also go check out our website. That's cariboohartorganics.net, I believe that is. Yeah, that's cariboohartorganics.net. It's the site's under construction, and so we don't spend a lot of time doing stuff on there, but we're trying to make it kind of a place where we can post short videos and pictures, reviews of products, or just whatever. Pit, just another avenue for us to let people see what we're doing is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. And also, if you want to get your pictures here up on the show, if you got a nice grow room picture that you want to post up here, or you got some nice buds or dabs or whatever, you can email them to us at cariboohartorganics@gmail.com. Just give us a subject line letting us know what it is and a few details, letting us know what we're posting up. And also tell us if you want your name shouted out on the show. If you do, we'll shout you out. And if not, nobody will know who you are, and we'll still get your pictures posted up here anyways. Okay, so we're going to shut her down now. See you back here next Sunday at 8 o'clock p.m. Until then, everybody have a great week, and we'll see you here next week.